Hey YouTube, how's it going? It is that time of the day where we talk about what went down for the weekend. Yes, crazy major that we just experienced with some of the most insane storylines. If you guys enjoy the content, as always, make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, notifications. Check me out in the socials down below. And we're going to be gearing up for some new stuff at the end of the video as well, talking LCQs and everything else in future videos. So that said, let's jump into what's actually being discussed in today's video. Only one North American team in the playoffs, but despite four in Europe. We're talking, we had what we assumed was the four strongest teams for North America finally going into the major, and it didn't seem to matter. I'll qualify that later. Biggest surprise is the finalists in Ultimates making top two, getting reverse swept out of Swiss. Absolutely crazy. You know, K Corp as well going to round 5. Like, there was nothing but chaos. Like, anybody who said they predicted this bracket is an absolute liar. Let's take a look at the results themselves. As you guys can see, our top 8: Falcons, Vitality, Energy, Dig, Mates, K Corp, Twisted Minds, and Team Secret. I told you guys my dark horse this time around was Mates, and they did live up to the expectations. I said if I was to put anybody in the top 25, it would have been Eugen. Played a little bit of hero ball, but still played very, very well for the team. So congratulations to them. A blanket statement for the entire event: there is no easy matches. It is absolute chaos across the board. I think my biggest takeaway is I always talk about top 8 as a coin flip. It's very difficult to, once you get to the kind of playoff in-person days, to be that dominant team nowadays. I think everybody has a proper chance, and I think we got that really exploited, not only in playoffs, but also in Swiss. Like, there is no easy matchup. There's a couple, especially with import situations, where you have some favoritism here and there, but everybody is competitive when everybody is playing 3 to 5 hours a day on LAN against each other in warm-ups and practices and scrims and you name it. So out of the gate, a couple things to note. Number one, Energy went through a gauntlet. A 5 Buko score and no one else coming remotely close, I think, other than Ultimates, is pretty crazy. They had a lot of teams that went very, very far in their brackets when it came to their results in Swiss. So the fact that they only conceded and were able to get through shows that Energy is the Energy that people know and support them for. Mina in particular did extremely well. Falcons looking 3-0, again only dropping one game to Team Secret. Vitality also finally starting to figure things out. I think Exotic looked absolutely stellar. Really good positioning, shot placement was good, but again, still some faults here and there. Nobody's perfect. Dignitas continued to pick up where they left off, except for the loss to Falcons, where Falcons challenge game just really suffocated them. K Corp up and down, and that really shows in their Swiss. And then Twisted Minds as well. Twisted Minds, everybody was talking about how in scrims they looked like they were a top 3 team. Like, they looked absolutely dominant. Stylistically, they have a really good matchup against Gen G. Rod Greg put out a tweet basically talking about his experiences with everything and what it was like playing against them and what that looked like. So pretty cool to see all of that play out. As we discussed at the beginning, Ultimates did get reverse swept. They had a really strong performances, upsetting Carmine Corp as well. And then to lose 3 in a row, game 5 and losing to Team Secret, basically it left everybody speechless. It was pretty crazy. Fury had a really tough pull in round 5 up against K Corp. And then in my expectations, based upon the teams that I knew, based upon performances and scrims and stuff, Foot was going to be last. Wildcard and TSM both weren't playing that great, which was weird because even though this is a 3-0, Vitality had a lot of 1-goal games and it was super close. I thought they were going to blow out TSM, and TSM put up a pretty good fight. Virtus Pro to me was here and there, but they are still very competitive, I will say. And then outside of that, Space Station, I don't know if it was... We've talked a lot about when rookies go to LAN, especially when it's your first LAN, there is some weirdness to it. If they could play their playstyle, which was demo and aggressive, which they did when they were losing, when they had nothing less, like, hey, if we don't win this match, we're done. As soon as they got faced with that, they regressed, and by regressed, I mean reverted back to their playstyle that worked, which is aggressive, fast, no consequence, and it created chances they were able to win. But then they would go back into a series and play a little passive, or their touches were a little bit off, and it just didn't work out. So I think it's a really good learning experience for Space Station. They get EWC as well as the World Championship to try to figure things out. But I think for those guys, first World Championship, first LAN experience, first RLCS, I think is a pretty big deal. So very exciting for them. Unfortunately, bit of friendly fire in these, and they could not do that, even though they were able to do it through the rest of the split. So there is a lot to dissect in these. So many good matches. We streamed pretty much every single match outside of the ones that we couldn't because of scrims. But yeah, it was pretty chaotic. A lot of surprises every day. If you didn't tune in right at the beginning, you woke up to some new crazy result. I think the big ones obviously was the, like I said, Ultimates K Corp situation where they lost there. Team Secret continued to play very well. You know, KC to game 5. Like, there was a lot of moments where people were just surprised by how things were going. Twisted Minds over Furia. This LAN was super competitive. And for a lot of people, the event itself looked pretty empty. Some things to take note: Thursday and Friday are work days. Not everybody's able to attend. It's also 20,000 seating arena. There's a lot for the capacity, so it is tough. From everybody I talked to, said it was loud, said it was great, had a good time. Some of the amenities, and I've seen from Reddit threads, said that people said the Ultimate experience didn't live up to things of the past, but it was a major step in the right direction compared to the first major. So we're hoping Leon's going to be crazy. Tickets were sold out within hours, so expect all the Friends fans to go absolutely psycho. As for the playoffs and kind of taking these one at a time, it was really surprising. Twisted Mind K Corp, this one was insanity. It was a reverse sweep, probably one of the matches of the entire tournament. You're talking 2 OTs to start, and KC is like, okay, we got both of these. We're in a really good moment. They look dominant. Life is good. And somehow Rise, Ice in the Veins, finds a way to make it back. I mean, you're talking all 1-goal games to win these out. Like, the amount of stress, you slowly see it slipping away. We can't figure it out. We still concede after the timeout. And, like, for Twisted Minds to clutch up and win it is insanity. Really, really wild series. On the other side, Secret beating Mates, I just didn't expect. I mean, I knew Secret was playing better, and they looked a little bit more polished because I've, like, multiple events ago, I put them as like, hey, you're my dark horse. I know you have the potential, but on LAN, I just figured other teams had a better tier to them. But objectively, they played extremely well, really clean, mistake-free, simple, clean Rocket League. And on LAN, that's something to be said. Mates, on the other hand, played hero ball. They tried to force things too much. You know, Yujin was overcommitting when his teammate was already on the ball. Like, things that just shouldn't be allowed. So, again, I think a lot of these young players that are extremely talented do fall into that kind of moment, but still good gameplay and a good learning experience overall. But for Secret top 6, that's pretty dope. On the other side, very one-sided games. Falcons looked built different. They looked so very strong against Dignitas. Dig was kind of this weird back and forth where it just felt like something was a little bit off, and I thought we were going to get a recreation of the same situation we saw last event when they didn't make top 8, where it's like pressure's on, things are going. I think Yours had an incredible LAN. I think he played so very well. We'll talk about that more in the finals. But this was kind of a prove-it situation for Dignitas. I think they knew they had so much more left in the tank and that they've been building Stizzy with more experience and everything else. I think Stizzy definitely had some moments where it was a little bit concerning, but I think Jack looks free. I think Jack is doing a really good job of playing his role in the midfield and creating opportunities, and he looks like he's playing loose. He doesn't feel so stressed and I have to do everything on my own, which makes for a really exciting Dignitas. That being said, Falcons is just relentless. Their offense is crazy. They just continue to pressure all the time, and they look really dang good. On the other side, Vitality versus Energy. Close games, but this one was primarily dominant by Vitality. NA went from being like, we're the best, we're 4-0 outside of when we play each other, to we are dog water, we stink, to hey, Hopium is back, to we are dog water again, and then we lost. And it was really frustrating for all of those people. It was a pretty interesting roller coaster watching the comments, both in the chat as well as on the timeline on Twitter and stuff. So Vitality, I've talked about, I do consider them still a top 5, top 6 team. I forget where I put them in my power rankings. On LAN, this is just a team that needs to be given respect. And I think in similar narratives, we've seen Monkey Moon do this before, and I don't think that's acceptable. I think the issue has been Exotic and Monkey Moon overlap too much, and you are finally starting to see, you know what, heck it, I just have to be the aggressor. One of us has to be the one willing to go, because I still think Exotic is very, very good, even though everybody wants him to get out. It's just there is too much similarity between him and one of his teammates. So someone either needs to make a stylistic difference, or someone just needs to say, heck it, I'm just going to go so it's easier red. And we got to see that a little bit more. Monkey Moon a bit more aggressive. Exotic playing a little bit wider on his rotation, there for the passes and the shots. And it worked out beautifully. Unfortunately for Energy, they were on the receiving end. Holding Energy's offense to 3 goals is pretty tough. On the low side then, starting on our final day, Championship Sunday, we did have Dig and Secret, and Dig pulled out a very complete performance. Even though Team Secret kept it competitive, I mean, you're talking literally all 1-goal games except for one. Very low scoring affair. I think that was one of Dignitas's issues, is they were struggling to find offense to start the day. That changed as time went on, which I'm very happy for them. But yeah, Secret's just a well-rounded team, man. They really impressed me. They were the biggest surprise, I think, for everybody. I was glad to see Gentlemates live up to like the Dark Horse kind of conversation, but for Secret to take and go through, this series being 4-0 does not tell the storyline. I mean, you could say the same about these two, but more so this one, where Energy did have a pretty good fight. It got way back and forth, so it was pretty exciting. But speaking of back and forth, Energy Twisted Minds. I don't know what it is about Twisted Minds. They're just really fun to watch. This series was a little scary for Energy to start out and a little bit chaotic. Eventually, they did find their footing. Watching this with chat and stuff, we were edge of our seats. Anytime with Energy, a Game 7 OT, 1-goal game, like, sign me up. I'm all for it. Very entertaining this entire weekend. I don't think there's ever any matches where I'm like, I am so unbelievably bored. Get me out of here. Except for maybe like the Chalked and First Touch show match. Maybe the 1v1s. But that's just not for me. That's not for my entertainment. I want to watch the high level. Although Gibbs did hit that pretty dope redirect. So maybe there's that. But Energy Twisted Minds, again, it's tough when you watch this much Rocket League in a weekend. Everything kind of just blurs together. But I do remember, if I'm trying to think on the top of it, was it Daniel or was it Atomic? There was like one moment that really like made the difference for them being successful. I think Daniel just in particular has had a really, really good weekend. I do see Beast Mode playing worse than normal and kind of chasey, honestly. It's been weird seeing Beast Mode just constantly cutting rotation to play on the ball, but they, I know, do that sometimes on purpose to create an opportunity for Daniel. So I'm curious on what Sathu's insight would be on it. Raw Greg, I highly recommend if you guys didn't check. He had this big long post about, you know, stylistic choices and the plan that they had and stuff like that. Really insightful stuff. Where he takes it on himself and saying, I didn't adapt as good enough. But Energy is just one of those teams, I think, when the going gets tough, they find a way to win, and this was kind of that. They're land veterans. They all know what to do. They stay composed. There's a couple times where they were under an absolute onslaught amount of pressure, and their just defensive rotations, knowing how to pack the box and play it smart, really came in handy because Twisted Minds' offense is lethal. So that was exciting. We then jumped into Vitality Dig, and I didn't expect this to be as close as it was at first. I thought it was going to be Vitality based upon the way they were looking compared to Dignitas, but it was interesting to see Vitality, despite playing some teams already in Swiss stage, like Energy, to still win, because usually it's the opposite. I guess it just must be a Furia thing. But Vitality, I thought, okay, a couple mistakes to start. You cleaned it up. The OT was really weird to see how they conceded that off the kickoff. But then they did bounce back immediately after the timeouts. The timeout buff did not work in their favor. Got a win and then back to OT. I'm trying to remember what exactly happened in this series. Off the top of my head, I can't actually remember. It was kind of a blur. Dignitas was like setting forth like a warpath almost. It felt like it felt mostly like Yoris was starting to take over, which there's some things he did in the grand finals. There's multiple shots where Yoris had in the grand finals. 2 in one particular game that were just like super clutch. He had like a flip reset catch and then he slapped it down and like went underneath. Crazy. Getting ahead of myself, as this, like I said, all kind of blurred together. Yeah, it was nuts. Falcons looked unbeatable in this series, I can tell you that. I literally predicted this exact score line to my chat about how I thought it was going to go. It just felt a little bit predictable. Energy just didn't really have... It almost felt like Energy was trying to do too much. Like, way too assertive, way too aggressive. Like, they felt like they had to challenge everything. They had to be super aggressive on the ball at all times. And just, they outworked themselves almost. Again, until I like go back and look at the actual replays, it's gonna be tough to assess. But from what I was seeing, it felt like rather than like playing smart for first person challenges, but it's a fake, so possession goes back to the other person. They just felt like we have to send it at all times because if we don't, they're gonna get a free touch and they're gonna score. So if anything, that's credit to Falcons and how well they were playing. But it looked like it got out of hand after a certain point, and Falcons closed it out. So again, you look at the score lines too, you can really tell how difficult it was for Energy to consistently get goals against an incredible Falcons team, which brought us to the grand finals. Falcons dig. Anything you can do, we can do better was pretty much the mentality. Falcons would score. Dignitas constantly playing catch up except for game one. I think that just had to do with, hey, this is a tough fought series. We're a little bit tired. New play style. Dignitas comes in fresh, ready to go. The things I had concerns about with Dignitas on land, the consistency, the highs and the lows. How can we continuously provide this threatening offense without overcommitting? How can we make sure we're not making goofy mistakes type of stuff? Got shown here. You're having a very consistent team that has a really good high ceiling. And it felt like Falcons, through their consistency and intelligent play and just structure, while it is a structure that is very expected, it's effective. And after a certain point, they would score, Dignitas would catch up, then Falcons would score, and I never saw Dignitas able to break that pattern. That is a huge oversimplification of what I think I saw happen, but it was Falcons' time, dude. They made history. This is the first time that we've seen not only MENA have two teams in the top 6, but to win a RLCS LAN. I can't tell you the amount of times. It's probably like 2 or 3 times that Falcons has been in a grand final, and they've fallen short. So congratulations to them. I'm very happy for TRK, Clears, and Rawas for taking their first ever victory. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy event. Pretty crazy weekend. Chat that I had on my fan base came out and supported really well on stream. We had an absolute blast. We did a bunch of goofy challenges and stuff, and I had to play a dating simulator that sucked, and again, a lot of fun times. So thank you guys for all who tuned into that. But outside of that, just overall opinion, I think production was pretty good. A lot of hiccups, a lot of pauses. I don't know why they don't streamline some of the production decisions. It is a long day, and they could speed it up by at least an hour if they change some things. A lot of internet issues and just stuff that are probably outside of their control. I think production overall looked pretty cool. I think they did a little too much slow-mo camera. I think what they could have done is let the live moment play for what it was, and then in highlights use the slow-mo. Like trophy lift with the slow-mo camera, just let it exist live, and then when you do the highlights and the packages at the end, maybe do that. I think overall the event did look good, minus the empty crowd. I think the audio from the crowd came through very nicely, and that was really good. Like there was a fun couple moments here and there that were not just RLCS related. That seemed like they did a pretty good job. Content pieces I think were pretty standard, nothing too crazy. I don't know. I don't think they're trying to reinvent the wheel. I am hoping for something a little bit more special and a little bit more extra in Lyon for the World Championship, especially. Hopefully some announcements, this and that. But the thing they did announce, which we'll be talking in a future video, is we do have more details on the LCQs. We finally have information about dates and timings and kind of what to expect. So, again, overall, Raleigh Major was good. I think it was pretty entertaining. It was very hot from what everybody was saying and very expensive, but that's just the way she goes. But overall, one of the more entertaining lands. Like, I had a really good time watching matches. I think all the teams played really, really well. Super competitive. Which is what we want, and it just makes it a big question mark for who are favorites going into Lyon. So, pretty exciting stuff. We do also have our 4 teams that will be playing in the play-ins. I will make sure I cover that in tomorrow's video for LCQs. So, with that said, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications as always. Helps me out. I know I missed a ton of things. I know I could have got way more detailed on some of the matches, but to say it was a blur would be an understatement. So, overall, congratulations, Falcons. They're your major champs. But that's gonna do it for today's video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Doing shit like me. Heart rate froze, hit the EKG. I hate wasting time. Fuck eventually.